Welcome to the May 10th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
Minty Mitz.
Oh, man.
I'm back again.
Welcome back.
Like, you couldn't predict it from the lineup on Tuesday, what would be happening on Thursday.
I was going to say, this is the first time this has happened, except for every other of our not quite 94 podcasts, because we didn't used to do Corrective and Reactive back then, but you know what I mean. Foo, 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 foo.
This is just like One Piece, who has like all the characters just randomly have unique
weird
laughs.
Coo, coo, coo. That's like Prospero's. You did it. What?
So,
the weirdest one.
I have brought you all here today to show you my latest completed amiibo.
Amiibo?
You're full of it. You haven't brought us anywhere. I'm where I live. Minty Mitz is where she lives.
No, I brought you there, though.
Oh, okay. That's where I brought you. You're there.
But you don't make amiibos.
Amoobos.
Opals and bononos.
I got my Super Mario cereal box finally emptied because I ate all of the cereal. So that's my announcement for Reactive. Bye, everybody. We want to
until next week. See you on Tuesday.
I want to interject that the cereal box that you have gifted us so kindly is still full and on top of the fridge,
and
like a trophy display. No staleness.
It's going to be stale once you try it.
Really? It's packaged, sealed, and everything.
Yeah, but things go stale even.
Yeah, I mean, you try eating
seals.
30-year-old cereal. Yeah,
you're right.
Old ass cereal. You should have eaten it while you had the chance.
maybe I should secretly eat it and old man stop me when I need to know.
You should also recycle the box.
I heard that. You should go onto eBay and buy some overly expensive steel-sealed box of Nintendo cereal.
and pour Crystal Pepsi all over it.
Oh, yeah. Dear. Oh.
But they had like Mario and Zelda cereal and marshmallow bits.
Yeah.
Why don't they make Crystal Pepsi anymore? I don't.
Well, didn't it make a comeback? It might have been a limited comeback though.
Yeah, just like Surge did, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So anyway, this is mostly a retro gaming update. This time around for all the people that got sick of old man Stompy's blathering about men grappling all day long. But
watch that.
let's all oil up and have a good time.
No, that's Hakan from Street Fighter 4. Time to oil up.
Exactly. And he's like,
and he kicks your ass.
Blue oil. It's so weird.
It was actually fascinating watching that one Evo. I forgot what year it was, but there was this guy who was really known for doing Akuma, although he has like a secondary main. And I think it was Akuma was his main guy. And it was getting to the final round, and he had lost once or twice. And there was this major moment of hesitation and like anticipated silence where he's just kind of sitting on the character menu, and then he highlights Hakan, and everyone's like, "Oh!" It was a mate. And then because Hakan's scary because like he's just weird. Like not many people play him, and you don't really know how to fight him because he's awkward.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
he has an unconventional fighting style.
He slides all around. Like I remember Mr. Ryu telling me about Guilty Gear that there are clearly top tier characters. But top-tier players still fear really talented Chip players because even though Chip isn't the highest tier, he's pretty terrifying if you really know what you're doing with him because he just teleports everywhere and he's super fast.
Yeah, and also, you're used to fighting somebody like Soul Bad Guy or, like one of the typical players.
And then Chip is just like warping around Alpha Blade, Beta Blade, too late, and you're like, what? Like he's just all over the place.
It's like fighting Voldo. Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Oh, yeah, like, I remember I actually pissed Luminera off once because he actually, like, back in the day, like, he actually practiced, like, Soul Calibur 3 or 4 or something. And I beat him in Voldo by button mashing because, like, you don't know what Voldo's doing. He has an attack where he faces away from you and attacks by thrusting his hands like through his legs backwards as a low attack, and you're not predicting that shit. Like, come on.
Exactly. So, I did want to bring up that there was a surprise release on GOG this week. I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but I basically had thought that all of the classic Star Wars games had been released.
Oh, yeah, for May the 4th. Yeah.
But they actually came out with another.
Yeah.
Which I was totally floored by, and I didn't even know there was a PC version of this. So it was Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer, which was actually quite a fun game. So that's really awesome. I'm
not going to be satisfied until they release a PC version of Super Bombad Racing.
Jedi Power Battles. But
Masters of Terrakasai.
But yeah.
Where you can play as Hor, the Tusken Raider. H-O-R. No one thought that was a bad idea, but alright.
Yeah, but I thought this was awesome. I'm sure it has like support for 2 joysticks too, so that would be like a lot of fun to play.
Nice.
I might even get this one. I hear the PS2 version is a lot of fun because a lot of people played it on N64, but they put out an updated version for PS2, so where you can use the dual joystick configuration. So I think that's really awesome. GOG has always been really great about putting out new stuff and making deals happen. So I just wanted to go over some classic PC games that I've always wanted, that I don't think will ever happen, but maybe in a slight chance that kind of thing might happen. But the big one is No One Lives Forever, the series. There are 3 games.
There's 2 of them?
There are 3 of them.
3 of them?
Well,
okay.
There's a spin-off. There's 1 and 2 and then the spin-off.
What's the spin-off called?
I always forget. It's like it wasn't very good. But
okay.
I kind of just wanted it for completeness.
Just on principle.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
if you're going to release the other 2, you might as well, right?
Well, yeah. That's the thing. It's like Blood Rain. GOG has Blood Rain 1 and 2, and they also got that weird side scroller beat 'em up thing, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it was called Contract Jack.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. It was a spin-off of No One Lives Forever 2. It's supposed to be a prequel to 2, so it happens like in between the 2 games. So you play as one of the other characters. And that's another game by Monolith. And another one of their games that I've been wanting to have an official release is Aliens vs Predator 2. So Aliens vs Predator 1 is freely available, as is the other game called Alien vs Predator, which is like the 3rd game in the series. But the 2nd game in the series is not not available for whatever stupid reason.
Huh.
So these games are great. Monolith Productions was a great company. They made a lot of really awesome games. I particularly really love Tron 2.0 was probably my favorite that they released, and Pyro talks about that game too.
They actually did release that game on GOG, which is cool.
Yeah. No, that game is really fantastic, and there's also some really great fan mods to that one as well that put it in a higher resolution. So, it just kind of stinks that one of the biggest games that people have been hounding for can't be released, but they've been so good about other stuff that it's pretty amazing that what they've done so far. So I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, they managed to re-release I think every LucasArts adventure game besides Monkey Island 3. I think
that's good. They released a lot of stuff that I just didn't think they would come back to, like Loom and The Dig and stuff like that.
Well, it's amazing that they were even able to do that. I mean, like Loom even has There's Robert Patrick in it. Like they.
Oh, what? That's awesome.
Or no. It's The Dig actually has Robert Patrick in it.
The Dig. That's super cool.
Yeah,
though.
he's like the main character in the game. So like.
Have you seen this boy?
Yeah. They needed to have the rights for that. Mark Hamill's in whatchamacallit in the Full Throttle.
Yeah,
so.
Mark Hamill was. I mean, people know him as Luke Skywalker and the Joker, but he is a highly prominent voice actor. He's in a lot of stuff you might not even have expected. I mean, you get to actually witness him in the Wing Commander games, or at least one of them. What got me
3 and 4.
3 and 4. What got me? This is one that I actually like. It just blew me away when I learned about it. He was Majima in the original Yakuza when it was dubbed.
Yeah,
and it's like, what? So if you ever wanted to hear Mark Hamill actually swear, then that's the place.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Dang.
Let's fuck this shit up! And like busts through a wall with a truck. It's like, yes.
But I wanted to quick mention some other ones that I wish were still around that are kind of like obscure to define. One of them did get like kind of a shadow release, but only as a pre-order bonus.
I was gonna mention that, yeah.
So that would be American McGee's Alice, and you're a big fan of that series.
Yeah, it's associated with Origin, so yeah, if you got like the full edition, yeah. Was it pre-order only? You can't buy like the complete edition
you
now.
You can't
or
buy
something?
I don't think you get the original game if you buy Alice Madness Returns now. I don't think you get it.
I don't even understand that.
Yeah, it was definitely a pre-order bonus for the console version. So you could the only way to get that if you have like the 360 version, for instance, is if you had pre-ordered it and gotten the code for it.
Well, what about if you do it on PC via Origin?
I'm gonna have to look into that, but I think I'll have to search forums to see if anybody can tell me whether that's the case.
Because I heard the console versions gave you like a weapon wheel, like in Ratchet and Clank. Because otherwise, how are you gonna select your like 10 weapons? Because in the original game, it was like Doom or something. You just press the number keys for each of your weapons. But I don't remember if you could get the game on Origin right now or not. Like I have it on disc, but I remember that, like, for my copy of Madness Returns that I have, it's kind of funny because I activated via the config menu the ability to toggle on the DLC, so I just have the DLC because that was their security in the fucking config menu.
Wow.
But the funny thing is that basically turns on the full version of the game. So, like, what's supposed to happen is that if you launch American McGee's Alice from the title screen, it's supposed to force quit the game and then launch American McGee's Alice, but I don't have the digital version, I have the physical version. So even if I direct the game to tell me to launch it from where I have American McGee's Alice installed, it'll still say like, oh well, you need the disc. So it's like, oh, there's just no point.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where I think you had to be right time, right place to pre-order it. I have it for 360, but I don't like it because it's a game that when you start playing it with a controller, you automatically recognize that it was a keyboard and mouse game. It feels like a keyboard and mouse game.
To be perfectly honest, like I'll try to be objective about this. Even though I love that game, I very, very easily understand why people would get fed up with it quickly. Like, honestly, Vice, I don't even think it would be the kind of game you would, like, end up beating. Like, I think you'd just be like, alright, I get it. Like, it's pretty clunky. It hasn't aged very well. I just happen to like it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I think it's even clunkier with like, the bolted-on controller controls, that it was never meant to have. But I have played the original PC version, and it, like, the platforming is very floaty. It just is.
Oh, boy. You want to talk about floaty platforms? Have you played Madness Returns?
Oh, no.
Oh, my fucking god, dude. Because, yeah, you jump pretty high in American McGee's Alice, and it gets a little disorienting. But the thing was, they would have, like, places where you have to jump from one platform to another, or, God forbid, jump toward a vine, press enter to grab the vine, swing on a vine somewhere else, land. It's like, this might have been better if it were designed for console. But in Madness Returns, they were like, okay, that platforming was annoying, so let's compensate for it. So you have like a quintuple jump. But they were like, well, wait a minute, that's broken. Okay, let's make platforming areas giant, big, fuck-off abysses with like 3 platforms among them. So you have to quintuple jump to them, and it's like, you lost focus, man.
Yeah. Well, I also wanted to bring up some other titles here that I wanted to bring up. So the Blair Witch trilogy. So there were some really underground tie-ins to the original Blair Witch Project movie that a lot of people didn't really know about. That were made, I think, by the team that ended up making Blood Rain, I think. So they made 3 survival horror games for the PC that barely anybody knows about.
Yeah, I never heard of them until you told me about them.
So obviously those probably have some rights issues going on, but I would love to see that kind of thing, realized back on the PC again.
Be really funny if, like, by far the best game were like one based off of Book of Shadows.
Yeah, what's
it's like the one good, like it's like the Mummy Demastered. It's like based off that shitty movie, but like, wow, what a great game.
Well,
what?
What's really funny is Alien 3 has a really good game for the SNES, and it's first of all, it's published by JLN, like, Jesus,
or LJN.
LJN, Jesus. It's probably the only good game that LJN ever put out. And
Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, I'll give him a shout out for that.
Okay. And then but what's funny about it is, like, Alien 3 is not that great of a movie. It really isn't. I'd rather play the game. It has some really iconic scenes and parts in it, but other than that, like, the other two, the previous titles are better. Way better. Infinitely better. But there's some other weird stuff, like Hardcore Gaming 101 has like a few like really weird Japanese games. I think one of them's called Garage. I don't know if you ever heard of that. But I
wait, like Garage, like where you put your car?
Where you would put your
car.
Oh
yeah, Dracologist has also talked about this to me, but I saw the Hardcore Gaming 101 article. Apparently that game is extremely rare, even in Japan, and it's like insanely expensive if you want to get it now.
Well, that's why I would love it to be on GOG,
It's like this bizarre point and click that would also have to be translated into English.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of more games that have never been translated before from back in the day, finally being put on online.
Modern platforms.
Yeah, modern platforms.
How many games had that treatment, by the way? Because I know you told me about Sin and Punishment, but wasn't there like one more?
So the big one, actually, Sin and Punishment was in English to begin with. So
on the N64.
Yes. So it kind of like had a setup like an arcade setup, I think. A lot of arcade games have English in them. So it was subtitled in Japanese.
So it's kind of like Golden Axe 3. Like it was like the whole game's in Japanese. Like, okay, or in English.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I think it was subtitled in Japanese, and everything else was in English already. So it was very easily understood, or something to that degree. The only ones where this has ever really happened was Monster World 4.
That's right. That was like the 360. Well, the Sega Genesis, but like the 360 title.
Well, it came out on 360 and Wii and PS3. As a translated game from way back when. Also, another Monster World game, the English version of the arcade version of the second game, actually came out. But I think that was originally done in English. It had just never been released.
Sure.
So
I could also think that this is only half true, but Metal Wolf Chaos, where the menu is in Japanese, but it shouldn't be that hard to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
But like the plot is voiced in English and just subbed in Japanese.
Yeah, I'm really in favor of that kind of stuff. Like a lot of like obscure things just being finally translated. also there's like a lot of multimedia stuff from back then, that I think I would just really like. And one of the ones that I've been fiending for is actually Commander Keen 6. So they've actually released every other Commander Keen game other than the Game Boy one. Even the Gaiden chapter,
Commander Keen has a Gaiden chapter.
It's like a side chapter where he had a bad dream where he was fighting vegetables. It's called Keen Dreams. It isn't one of the episodes 1 through 3 or 4 through 6. So, but the 6th.
Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know what Commander Keen is, that was an id Software game before they went into Wolfenstein 3D and Doom.
Yeah,
he's just like a little boy with a red shirt and a yellow baseball cap, and he's like in space just doing like platforming.
Yeah, he's been retconned to be the grandson of the guy you play as in Wolfenstein. So
yeah, like in Doom 2, the secret level, like you have to beat secret level 1 to enter secret level 2. The exit is surrounded by 4 Commander Keens, and you shoot them, and they go like when you take them down, like the old school sound.
Yeah, I think it actually uses PC speaker sounds too. Like it actually like makes your computer beep. Instead of actually like outputting through your speakers.
That's right. Yeah, before people had like Sound Blaster cards and stuff like that. Like old computer sounds, you were probably better just muting if you could. Like they were really shrill beeps. It was obnoxious as hell.
But yeah, your computer hard drives or your motherboard can actually just make sounds. So
I guess you really couldn't mute that.
Yeah, and
it sucked, man.
That's
like
how
it was. I mean, back then you were okay with it because it was sound, but the moment you got any kind of sound card, you're like, oh,
this is way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want that game, but that one has some like legal troubles. Unlike the other remaining 5. Or earlier 5 episodes, so like the 6th episode.
Is John Romero actually making us his bitch this time?
But yeah, I mean, there aren't too many other games that I'm really fiending for. I mean, those are the main ones. A lot of the ones that I've always wanted, like Alone in the Dark,
well, they released the trilogy and A New Nightmare, right?
Yeah, no, all of the Alone in the Dark games are readily available, which is nice. Even
including the
Jack in the Dark
complete
too.
Piece of shit one on Steam.
Yeah, exactly. Jack in the Dark is actually available along with it as well, so that's pretty cool too.
Nice.
So they've done a good job at getting these out. Another big one was Planescape Torment. Like when that was finally released, people went nuts.
Yeah, and they released a new one too that ties into Numeria.
Yeah, exactly. And are you fiending for any other games that haven't been re-released?
I probably am. That's actually kind of hard. I mean, Pyro mentioned this before, but they're finally going to release all of the Myst games with that Kickstarter project. So that's cool on principle, because at this point, I think we were only able to get like 1 through 3 and not 4 and 5 online. But otherwise, I mean, I know they brought back... Oh, no, you know what? You know what I would love for them to bring back? Would be all of the Super Solvers games from the Learning Company.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Like Treasure Mountain, Treasure Cove, Gizmos and Gadgets. I would love that. And along that line, no one's heard of this game but me, but The Incredible Adventures of Hyperman. It actually had a cartoon series at one point. But like, I thought that game was pretty cool. It was more science-centered, whereas... the Super Solvers games were usually like math or English. Like Gizmos and Gadgets was science, but yeah. There's got to be a bunch of other stuff though. Actually, the original Lego Island game. I don't remember if that was on PS1.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Lego Island 2 was on PS1, but I think 1 was PC only.
Yeah, that would be a good one to re-release. That would be really cool.
Like, it's clunky as hell, but it's still cool.
It also was like one of the first games of its kind. Like,
yeah, it was really ambitious for its time. And probably anytime I feel like putting in a disc and finding that something doesn't work, because I do have a bunch of old discs which are getting less and less usable, which is unfortunate. I just got to think of what those things are, though, and that could be a little frustrating to do. I don't know. I guess while I'm thinking of this stuff, can you guys think of anything?
No. I only have back then I only played using emulators, played Rivera or Suikoden. Other than that, I had an N64 and I just played whatever game that my cousins gave me, because they were the older generation that had some working money, and bought those games, and that was basically it.
Yeah, I think it would be neat to hear, what the audience feels like. It would be really neat to see what they have to say, because I'm sure we'll hear some original titles here.
And by the way, GOG has a request area, I think.
Yeah.
Where System Shock 2 was king for a long time until it finally got released. So check there. You might get reminded of something you've wanted the whole time. No One Lives Forever, I think, is also a high priority item.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing that I wanted to bring up this time is there is the company that I got my N64 HDMI mod and Nintendo NES HDMI mod from. They're called GameTech. They distribute.
Yeah, this was the guy in Neptune, right?
No, that's actually the modder.
Excuse me. Okay.
GameTech is the distributor of the actual mod, the board for it, and you have to get it installed by a modder after that.
Okay.
So this guy is actually going to be distributing a really cool thing that a guy named Woozle is working on. It's actually a way to consolize a GBA or Game Boy Advance.
And a GBA, remember, can accept original Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. So the thing is...
And Game Boy Color.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. Yes. So the thing with this is, one of the primary reasons I got my GameCube HDMI modded was, to increase the performance of the Game Boy stuff. But, from what I've heard, it improves the GameCube's look anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a good reason to hold on to it. But I saw someone online saying they were disappointed with its Game Boy interaction, which disappointed me. But if there's a consolized GBA, and if it upscales, God forbid, then that'll make things even better.
So this is not, actually one of the few consolization projects that I've seen that does it straight to HDMI. It doesn't do it to RGB, which is great.
The S... what was it called? The analog Super and Nintendo.
What are you talking about?
Like the analog Super Nintendo was also just straight HDMI.
Oh yeah, exactly. So most consolized portable systems currently have been are RGB mods to RGB SCART, and you obviously need a frame meister or upscaler in order to even use it. What's really neat is he's doing it so that it outputs in HDMI, and it's going to output in 720p, which is really nice.
Oh, marvelous!
The other cool thing about it is that it has a Super Nintendo cartridge port built into it.
What?
Yeah,
What?
So you could play it with a Super Nintendo controller, which is really neat.
Controller.
Yeah. What did you think I said?
Oh, that's actually... You said cartridge.
Oh, controller port, I meant.
Yeah, no, that's actually really nice, because playing the Game Boy Advance, obviously there's no controller support there, and in fact, sometimes, if you hook up the GBA to the GameCube, the Game Boy Advance was the controller. But what was interesting is that, remember, there were those, this was specifically for the Super Game Boy, Hori released a controller that was, kind of Super Nintendo style.
Yeah.
For the GameCube, it had the GameCube shaped buttons, but it was kind of Super Nintendo style.
Yeah,
so
I had that.
For the Game Boy Advance consolization, for that to accept the natural Super Nintendo controller, that's a natural fit. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really great, and this isn't one that I'm going to pick up because I have a GameCube and I also have like GameCube interface and I have all the best like things in order to hook up my GameCube for Game Boy player, but I just thought it was really interesting and cool, and it's also a much cheaper alternative for somebody who doesn't have all those things. Like I have the component cables for the GameCube, and they're super rare right now. They're like $300.
That is true, but if you want S-Video, then a GameCube is like $30-$40, and the Game Boy player is like a little more. It's like 60-70, maybe a little more, 80.
Yeah, well, this is like if you have an old Game Boy Advance lying around, it's still really cheap. It's going to be a lot cheaper, I think.
Yeah, an actual Game Boy Advance is probably like $30.
Yeah, so and plus the mod and the work, I don't think it's a hard mod to install either. So, it's going to be worth it for people to pick up if you don't already have the setup for it.
Yeah, how much do you know how much the consolized Game Boy Advance is going to be?
They haven't released it, but they are well aware of where their pricing should be. So it should be priced to move. Like it should be. They've been talking about it. They're going to make it cheap enough that you would want to do it over the GameCube if you didn't want all that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending on the price, and because it upscales, I might actually want to invest in that.
Yeah, and the guy's also working on 2 other ones. This is exciting. Bihar Bros actually was doing something similar. They were consolizing the Game Gear, which is really neat because the Game Gear is like the actual hardware is a piece of crap, but there are good games on it.
What you have a problem with your like 6 size C or D batteries?
And the screen is garbage. Like it's just not a fun experience. He's going to be doing it HDMI out though, unlike the Bihar Bros one. So
interesting.
So yeah, he's working on that. But the big one, nobody's ever done this before. Neo Geo Pocket Color.
That's pretty crazy.
And I'm a huge Neo Geo Pocket Color fan. I cannot wait for this thing to come out. I know I'm like one of 5 people who want this thing really badly, but
the funny thing is, on Facebook, I know another person out of the 5.
Yeah.
Who actually is really into it, because he's like an SNK super nerd. Even
big Neo Geo fans aren't big fans of the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Like, they're all fans of, like the MVS and the AES and the CD systems, but they could care less about the Neo Geo Pocket Color for whatever reason.
Finally, just in time for that SNK Tag Heroines to come out, you could play the Neo Geo Pocket Color predecessor on the big screen.
Yeah, Gals Fighter.
That's what it's called, yeah. Classy name.
I actually really loved this system. Almost it had a high percentage of really great games to bad games on it, because almost all the games were first party. There were only like a few games that were released by third party companies, and almost all those were good too. So there's a very small percentage of bad games on it, and most of them are really fun fighting games that are easy to learn and easy to pick up. There's one game called SNK versus Capcom on there is one of the best fighting games I've ever played. It's really, really good.
Is it anything like the SVC Chaos?
No, it's its own thing. It's its own SNK versus Capcom game. It has its own system. It's a 2-button game because the system was 2 buttons. But what's pretty cool about it is it has different. It'll register like a jab or like a light punch if you just kind of press the button. But if you hold the button, it'll do like a heavy
one of
punch.
those. So, I gotta say though, this kind of throws me off, because like, ever since Sega went third party, it was weird at first when you saw Sonic on the GameCube, for example, but like Sonic wouldn't be caught dead on the N64. So even though Capcom has done crossovers with all sorts of stuff, and SNK has been one of those companies it's crossed over with, like, it wasn't on a Capcom exclusive video game system. Like it's kind of surprising to see Capcom taking a part on I guess SNK doesn't own Neo Geo or anything, but like
yes, I do.
SNK is, they actually do?
Yeah, SNK and Neo Geo are the same thing.
Okay, so Capcom is actually on a Neo Geo system then. That's pretty crazy.
So they were big competitors, but I guess they became friends over the years. You know, it's
yeah, like that would be like if Super Smash Brothers, like the original Smash Brothers, had Sonic, or if like Mario appeared like on the Dreamcast or the Genesis. Like, it would be so outlandish.
Well, you got to remember the times in which they were coming out. The Neo Geo Pocket Color actually came out right when SNK was like actually failing.
Okay.
So, and it's large in part to arcades dying out, and they had died out largely because people were burnt out on fighting games at the time. So this was right around the same time that Street Fighter 3 came out, and Garo Mark of Wolves came out. So they came out at very similar times. It was like 98, 99. And so I guess they saw themselves as friends because they had gone through the gauntlet and survived, you know, that kind of thing. It's kind of like how Namco and Tecmo and basically all the Japanese publishers are kind of friends now, and Sega, Tekken has guest stars.
Tekken's crossing over with fucking everybody.
Yeah, exactly, because they
like Geese from King of Fighters and Art of Fighting, like
Noctis.
Fucking Noctis?
Yeah,
from Final Fantasy 15. Excuse me.
So there's a camaraderie with Japanese publishers now of publishers that have been around for a long time. You know what I mean? Like they've been through the shit together. You know what I mean?
And even that new Arc Sys Works fighting game coming up, like Blaze Blue Cross Persona, like damn, and Ruby, which is American.
Yeah, so like Japanese companies kind of have this, especially ones that have been around since the 80s, that used to be like rivals, are now kind of like they have a lot of camaraderie because of the history they've had together. And
it's like those respectful nods.
Well, yeah. I mean, Sega and Nintendo are like partners now, basically. You know, Sega does a lot of exclusive business with Nintendo, even though they were
Sony,
huge
though.
Rivals. Yeah. Oh, that's true, but not
because we got the Yakuza stuff. But I mean, now that Sega's no longer making its own console, where like you shouldn't have your opponents on your console, like now Sega can help everybody out.
So you may or may not know this, but the Neo Geo Pocket Color was kind of set to be almost like the portable equivalent of the Dreamcast at the time. Even though they were separate companies, they had some crossover titles. So of course, Sega had no interest in releasing their own portable system at the time. You know, the Game Gear had gone out, and then they were just trying to survive with the Dreamcast. But they had made a deal with SNK to have linking functionality. So there are some games on the Dreamcast that will link up to the Neo Geo Pocket Color versions of those games.
That is really esoteric.
Yeah, and you need a special cable for it and all that. So
would the consolization have that?
Well, I would imagine that you would still have access to all the ports. So why not?
Okay.
Okay. So what's cool about it is I think the consolization of it only adds video out and a joystick port. So you know, why not? So
the consolization is an actual Neo Geo Pocket Color with video out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, because when you said consolization, like I pictured I pictured just like a box, like it looks like a standard home console, but it supports those games as opposed to being the actual system.
No. When I'm talking about the GBA and Game Gear, they're using actual old hardware.
Oh, yeah. So it's literally a GBA I can hold with HDMI out. Oh, clever.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're not
so that would make things a lot cheaper then. So it's basically so instead of imagining like an analog Super NT where it's like a completely new piece of hardware, it's literally a GBA that has been modded. So it's maybe like $120, $150 for the cost of the mod or something.
Correct.
Interesting.
So the Neo Geo Pocket Color, I can actually take I have two Neo Geo Pocket Colors. I can have one of them modded in order to output HDMI, and I'm super excited about that.
Clever.
And I have what's even greater is I think the stock setup comes with Neo Geo joystick ports. I have Neo Geo joysticks already, so
here's a question though. Here's a question: is the Game Gear also an actual Game Gear with HDMI out?
Yes.
Okay, because now I'm a little conflicted. Because on one hand, HDMI out is better. On the other hand, the Behar Bros consolization Game Gear is like a box. You know, it's like they made their own thing.
Well, no. He's going to put like a but the Behar Bros used actual older hardware. They just kind of bolted in the old hardware into that box.
Okay, but I mean, like what I want to see is if the consolization can plug into the wall, so I don't have to deal with this.
Of course it does. It's consolized in every way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if I have a choice between HDMI and RGB, I think I would go with HDMI.
Of course you would.
Because I did pre-order the Behar Bros version, but I was like, I was quick enough to make it through the pre-order stage, but not quick enough to actually get the pre-order because like they had limited stock and I was just a bit too late. So they were like, okay, well, in compensation, we'll put you on like a list of people who could pre-order the next wave.
Yeah.
But I might go with the HDMI version anyway because plus I haven't heard updates for the next wave of consolized Game Gear anyway. So like the Behar Bros already have other stuff that I want to buy anyway, like a Toro, so I might just go for that.
Well, the cool thing about the only thing that I'm kind of thinking about this is that the Neo Geo Pocket Color had a lot of awesome fighting games on it. I'm kind of wondering how the best setup to play the 2-player games on it, because you need a link cable and another system. So probably just kind of like a Nomad, you would kind of just hook up the consolized one to the TV, and then most of the fighting games, the second player can still look at player one screen and still see the other character, so it still would work well. So I'm
that is one thing that I've been thinking of for like, God only knows when I would try this out, but like something like Four Swords Adventures in the GameCube, where you can have the Game Boy Advance hook up to it. So like
a 5 TV setup.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I hook up my Game Boy player to the I hook up the Game Boy player to the GameCube, and the video out to the TV, and I have the GameCube linked to another GameCube, which is then linked to another TV. It's like that's too much. It's like nobody cares. Like, if no one's doing.
If I was a millionaire, I would have that 5 GameCube setup.
Yeah, for that one game. It's just like we talked about this briefly. If we ever wanted to show proper 2-player virtual on, we actually could do it, but it's still a bitch. Like, because we would each need our Elgato hooked up to a separate TV with a separate FrameMeister, and like we actually could pull that off if we brought them to each other's places, but it's like, dude, come on. Like, we need 2 Saturns, 2 recording devices, 2 FrameMeisters, 2 TVs, and 2 computers. Again, of all the esoteric, difficult bullshit to do, this is the easiest of them, and it already sounds like too much.
Well, we might as well get record like Time Crisis 2 and 3 while we're at it, with 2 different...
we might as well do it on the same day, because we are not doing that shit on a separate occasion.
Yeah.
That is one case that I'll make for online multiplayer. Like, I really dislike forced online multiplayer, but for something like Dead Space 3, you have to do it online, and like we don't have to hook up with each other and get all that shit set up. It's like, I'll do it at my place, you do it at yours. We each do it alone,
Yeah,
and we send each other the footage later. That we can do.
Yeah, so I just wanted to take a quick moment to list some of my favorite games on that system, because it's a very underrated system, but there's a ton of great games. The best game on the system, hands down. This is really a system for people who love fighting games, and all the fighting games on the system are really good. Like, it's not like they're good portable versions. Like, they're actually good fighting games. SNK vs. Capcom Match of the Millennium is a fantastic game. There's a really great Fatal Fury game on there. There's a great King of Fighters game on there. There's a great Samurai Showdown game.
Oh, nice.
They basically have shrunk down versions of all of their greatest franchises. They have 2 Metal Slug games that are a lot of fun.
Oh.
There's a version of Sonic 2 on there called Sonic
What?
Pocket Adventure. Yeah, it's actually really good.
So how many Sonic 2s do we have? We got Genesis, Neo Geo Pocket Color, and Master System now?
Yeah.
Weird. And kind of Game Gear. They're the same game, but not...
Yeah. But, there's this game called Facile, which is really fun. It's actually kind of... it's one of the only RPGs to be released for the system. It's actually very similar to... The closest thing that I can point out, it's kind of like Metal Gear Acid for the PSP. It's like a real-time... it's kind of like an RPG strategy game where you move around mechs.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's a really good game, too.
Here's a weird question. Do they have... this is going to be so bad because I don't remember the actual name of the thing, even though I should. It starts with an S. It was that beat-em-up series. There's 3 of them. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sengoku.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
No beat 'em up games like that on the system. But there are some really cool throwbacks. Like there's this game called Beast Busters that was like a light gun game in the arcades. It actually has like an adventure game, kind of like Zelda.
Do they have did they ever make a Cyberlip 2?
No, nothing like that. The only run and gun games on the system are pretty much the 2 Metal Slug games.
But I want Cyberlip because it's Cyberlip.
But there's
put that on the Switch.
There's the Puzzle Bobbles on it, which is neat.
Nice.
There are quite a few puzzle games. There's a game called Crush Roller, which is similar to Pac-Man. Pac-Man's on the system as well. I'm not a big fan of that version of Pac-Man because it's too shrunk down. But it's on there and it's decent. It's just very rudimentary. There's even an Ogre Battle game for the system.
What?
Yeah, and it's exclusive too. And it hasn't been translated yet, which is a real shame.
But that's crazy. How many Ogre Battle games are there now? There's the Super Nintendo, the N64, the PS1, and the PS1 also has Tactics Ogre.
So the PS1 though is a remake of the Super Nintendo one, so you can't count that.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. So there's March of the Black Queen on Super Nintendo. There's 64. There's Ogre Battle, whatever it's called, on the PS1, but you said there was a remake. But there's also Tactics Ogre. And then the Neo Geo one?
The Neo Geo Pocket Color one, and there's a remake of the PS1 Tactics Ogre on the PSP. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's that one called?
It's just called Tactics Ogre, yeah.
Okay.
But actually, that version is really awesome. That one's like one of the best versions of that game.
Interestingly enough, I also heard the N64 one. I've seen a little bit of it, but I didn't have anything to compare it to. But I later heard that the N64 version was one of the best ones.
Oh, it's excellent. Yeah. That series was made by the guy who made Final Fantasy Tactics, and there's the GBA one. I forgot about Tactics Over for the GBA.
I did forget about that.
That's a completely original game, too.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff out there on that system. Probably one more really great game is they had Card Fighters Clash, which was SNK versus Capcom, but like it was like almost like playing Magic cards or Pokemon cards. It was a lot of fun. It's really good. You build a deck and you put all kinds of SNK and Capcom characters in it.
Okay.
And you battle, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Pokemon trading card game if you ever played that for Game Boy Color, which is a lot of fun.
Is the Game Boy Color is that a digital version of the actual Pokemon trading card game? Because I played a little bit of that.
Yep. So
okay.
But it has like an RPG structure, like you go up against like gym leaders and that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, Magic the Gathering kind of had actually. Now that I think about it, that's another game I would like to see brought back is the really old Magic the Gathering computer game. I don't mean Magic Online, but there was like just a PC game that you personally could play like from way back when. I only saw one of my friends had it, and I don't remember what it was called.
Was it on Steam as well?
Yeah, I think that's a newer version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about a super old school version that only had like the old cards because that was what was around at the time.
Oh, okay.
This was like 1995 or 6 or 7, so it would have been like 4th or 5th edition at the newest.
But yeah,
like I remember using Bottle of Suleiman. It's like no one even knows what that is anymore.
But yeah, I mean that pretty much sums it up. I mean, you can't go wrong with like the vast majority of them. I mean, there's a ton of fighting games for the system. It far outweighs the non-fighting games. But
yeah, SNK was always like that. Like with the Neo Geo and the arcade games, there were like 10 not fighting games.
But
oh, actually, wait a minute. I was asking about Son Goku, but this is a more serious question. Is there a Last Blade?
Yes, there is.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's very good. In fact, all of the ones that are all of the portable versions of those games that they made are actually very accessible and easier to play than their arcade counterparts. So therefore, you can have a lot of fun with just playing those, and they're really good entry points in learning how to play fighting games in general.
Now, when you say they're easier, do you mean they're easier to learn how to play?
Exactly.
Or they're easier to deal with? Because arcade games are meant to take your money.
No, I mean, they're easier to learn how to play.
Okay.
In the sense, I mean, they're a lot of fun to play on one player. Most of them. I mean, there's hard modes and stuff like that. But the standout features of those games is that they were made to be easy to pick up and play, and then like learn how to play easily.
Literally pick up and play.
Yeah. So I actually didn't like fighting games until I had a Neo Geo Pocket Color. I'm gonna straight up say that. Yeah. So
interesting.
That's how I got my start playing fighting games. I mean, I'm no master, or not even really good at them, but I like them.
Yeah, I mean, I always played fighting games just to like beat arcade mode on like easy or very easy or something. Like, I mean, I grew up with Mortal Kombat and I liked that well enough, but like there was no way I was gonna enter a tournament or anything. But that's all right.
Yeah, I play casually as well. It's nice to just beat the arcade mode and just not worry about like, oh, here comes a new challenger.
Yeah, no, it's fun at a party too. Like I would love playing a game with you, Minty Mitz, because we're on similar level. We're not pros. But we'll have a lot of fun playing each other. You know what I mean? Like,
I used to play like Street Fighter Alpha 2.
I'm sure you could kick my ass in it.
No, I don't even play like with the normal character. Like Mr. Ryu plays like obviously Ryu really well, Ken really well, Akuma really well. But I chose to play with like Rose or like some obscure character.
Well, actually, Minty Mitz, do you follow Evo?
I don't follow Evo like you guys would or Mr. Ryu would. Once in a while,
yeah,
I'll
especially
just,
Mr. Ryu.
I just watch up once in a while though.
No, because I just wanted to point out that like a few years back, I think it was someone from France won Evo with Rose.
Oh, it did? Oh, I definitely would like to take a look then.
He chose the super, which has the 3 orbs that float around her.
Yeah. And
that's just super annoying to deal with.
Oh, the floaty types. I never figured out which one was better for me to play with.
Like, and part of the reason this person may have won is that, like, it's kind of like what I said earlier with Chip Zenoff. It's like Rose isn't one of the characters that you, quote, should go for if you want to win. So people weren't quite accustomed to fighting a Rose.
Yeah,
he was really good with Rose anyway.
Her movesets are kind of very interesting. It's like Bison-esque, but not really.
Well, that actually makes sense, because isn't Rose like the good aspect of Bison's soul?
Yeah.
Like canonically, Rose is like a part of Bison. Oh, by the way, fun obligatory JoJo reference. Rose was modeled after Lisa from JoJo Part 2.
Oh.
Right down to fighting with her scarf. I think in Street Fighter 4, one of her alternate costumes, or maybe it's DLC or something, is just Lisa.
Really? Huh. I gotta
think
look
so.
it up.
I might be wrong about that, but I think so. It's more of like, yeah, that's what we did. Bison himself is not from JoJo, but of all things, Rikio.
Wow.
Yeah, you guys know Rikio?
I love Rikio.
Yeah, he's not from the movie. The movie was like the first arc. Bison was from like the second arc. He was this guy called not Washizaki, like the weapon, but Wakizashi. Oh wait, no, Wakizashi is the weapon. He was Washizaki. And he just is Bison. He's like they didn't even change. Like Rose looks a little different from Lisa, but like Bison and Washizaki are just identical twins, except that Washizaki has a katana. It's really weird. Like I was reading Rikio, and I'm like, there's Bison. Just there he is. He doesn't look like Bison. He is Bison with a sword. All right.
Well, having said all that, I think it's time for us to move on and wrap up for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. Please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Battle.net, and Switch.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And if you would like to find me frolicking around Final Fantasy, you can find me as Minty Mitz on the server Ultros.
Oh, man.
And that's M-I-T-Z, Mitz?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Nice. Well, catch everybody on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.